I would like to start by asking, did the debate change anything for voters?
So that's a great question. So in order for the debate to change anything, you have to have enough people who are watching it, and then you have to have a clear winner, and typically not even a winner the way we might think of a winner, but a clear moment in which one of the candidates performed especially poorly. So in that sense, I'm not sure that the debate changed a lot. I thought Beto O'Rourke was very sharp, very aggressive. He needs to be. He's probably 6 or 7 points back in the election. Abbott seemed much more defensive. It seemed like he would much rather run against Joe Biden and against national Democratic politics. But it's hard to see that there's a clear change in terms of what the debate would mean into the election.
Our research shows that people are really paying attention to abortion laws, a
Sure.
border immigration, guns, school safety. Do you think that the debate touched on any of these topics in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I mean, I think on each of those topics that you have a clear difference between the candidates, and the candidates emphasize those differences on border issues, on abortion, on guns. You really you have a clear choice in this election. If you're concerned about the Dobbs decision and the restriction of women's rights in terms of abortion, the Beto is more on that side. If you like what the Dobbs decision was, then Abbott's your candidate. On immigration, it's very clear that Abbott's going to be more aggressive on border issues, and Beto somewhat less so. And on guns, Beto O'Rourke's going to be more aggressive in trying to limit guns, and especially limit things like AR-15s.
In the debate, the moderators pointed out that Beto has flip-flopped in his stance for over guns. Guns is a big topic here in Texas. Does Beto fare well when it comes to his stances in the past?
So guns and abortion are interesting issues in the sense that the people who vote on guns have historically voted primarily on that issue. There are very little other issues that are as important to them. But overall opinion is less strong than you might expect. And so I do think there is a problem in being uh, not strong enough, or in Beto's earlier comments about coming and taking guns away from people that he made in the presidential race could hurt him in the presidential race. So he has moderated that position. I'm not sure it's a flip flop by that definition. What he's saying is we'll do what we can to limit access to guns, and especially in terms of things like red flag laws, and trying to make sure that we're limiting access of guns to people with mental illness issues.
What issues do you think are most important to voters this year?
So it's pretty clear the economy almost always drives election outcomes, and on that issue, the Democrats are a little bit struggling, and this is a national issue because of Biden and the national Democrats. You tend to blame the president's party, and that's something that Beto O'Rourke is running against. Inflation is very important, but underneath that issue, I think immigration and the border are very important, second to the economy, second and third maybe.
Got it. And how do you feel like the debate addressed those issues?
So, like I said, I think both candidates have pretty clear positions. There are clear differences between the candidates, and so if you have strong opinions on abortion, on guns, on immigration, on the economy, the choice between these candidates should be relatively clear to voters. And the debate helped to clarify those differences if anybody was unsure.
Now, I love your honesty. I mean, does Beto have a chance?
Yeah. So I mean, let's put the race in perspective. If we trust most of the polls, and there are some issues in terms of in some of the polling data, but Beto's probably 6 to 8 points behind, and so the race is reasonably tight. But in order for him to win, he has to do something different, and he has to shake up the race, or he has to really mobilize younger voters who he does much better with. So yeah, he certainly has a chance. A month in politics is a lifetime, but I do think he has to do something to shake up the race. And the debate gave him a chance, but I also think over the next month he'll have opportunities to make the race a lot closer. But if nothing changes today, if we had the election today, you would expect Greg Abbott to win, and not win easily, but to win in a 5 to 10 point range.
Do you think either candidate turned people over to their side after watching the debate?
That's not entirely clear, and so one of the reasons is the people who watch the debate tend to be political junkies. So if you're watching the debate, you probably are strongly committed to one side or the other. So it's hard to use a debate to really flip a lot of voters, and it can be a challenge because the viewers are going to be the most politically attentive folks in the state, and they're going to have the strongest political attitudes.
When talking about immigration and the border, Abbott mentioned that it is Biden's fault that this is all happening. And every time he was questioned about his choices, given Operation Lone Star or the migrant busing, he said it was all because of President Biden. Is this a message that voters resonate with?
So it's interesting, and this is a question that I've wondered the answer to. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you. In this sense, Abbott has said the national government is not dealing with the border issue. I will, and here's my plan to deal with the border issue. Well, if you're looking at the data, the border issue is not getting resolved. He can turn and say this is Biden's fault. Is there any point at which he can't say that anymore? And O'Rourke was trying to make this case. Beto was trying to make the case that Governor Abbott has repeatedly said he was going to deal with the border, and he hasn't fixed it. He's been in the office for 88 years. Biden's only been in office for 2 years. Why hasn't he done it? It's not clear to me how that plays, because I think most Texans probably look at the issue and say this is a national government problem that requires a national government solution. But Abbott has come in and said, we're going to fix the problem if the federal government hasn't, and he hasn't fixed the problem. So is he vulnerable on that issue? I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how voters are going to respond to that.
And in the debate, they played video of Beto O'Rourke saying that he wanted to take people's guns away. And that seemed to have backfired on him now that he's running in Texas. What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, he's tried to moderate that stance, and he is saying we will do what we can in order to limit access to guns and try to address the problem of mass shootings within the state of Texas. He's also he tries to flip the question and say, what we really need to ask is what is Governor Abbott and what is the Republican legislature doing about the gun issue? And the answer is they haven't done a whole lot. And so if I'm governor, I'm going to do things, and including things like red flag laws. And so he is trying to say, look, you may not like my statement before, but I'm going to try to find solutions to the problem. They haven't found solutions to the problem, and we're no better off than we were 2 years ago.
When Governor Abbott was asked about red flag laws, I believe he said he was against them because it would deny people of due process. I didn't really understand that explanation. Is it a valid one?
I think the answer is it depends. The question is, can you deny someone a right if the Second Amendment provides a right to protection of firearms for personal protection? Can you deny that right because you're worried about whether someone has issues that should keep them from owning a weapon without having a conviction and without having a process in place that would allow you? I think I don't have a clear answer for you there. I think it's a question that we don't know the answer to, that would have to be reviewed by the courts.
When it comes to school safety, what do parents and children want to see change?
So, yeah, I think the easy answer is that they want their children to be able to go to school and to go to school safely and to not be fearful of possible school shooting. The harder answer is what do you do to make sure that school shootings are less likely? And there we have very different answers, all the way ranging from, you know, um, we should limit access to weapons of mass destruction. I mean, not weapons of mass destruction, but weapons like an AR-15 that is primarily for military use. Or alternatively, should we put more security in our schools and make them, you know, try to make them more secure by having security guards there? And I don't think we have clear answers in terms of what's going to make our schools safest.
When it comes to Abbott and Beto's delivery, who do you think that they were intending to target with their messages?
Yeah, so it's if you sort of take the context of the race and you say that Abbott has a lead right now and he can run the clock out, I think he is appealing to sort of base Republican voters who have you know, the sort of traditional voters who have helped the Republican Party and helped keep Texas mostly a red state. Beto O'Rourke needs to do something a little bit different. So he needs to appeal to both independents and to non-voters and to people who aren't participating, and especially to younger voters. And I think if you sort of listen to his answers, part of what he's trying to do is appeal to these college-educated voters. He does really well among the 18 to 34 group. He does less well among older voters. So Abbott's appealing to these older voters, these more traditional Texas voters, and Beto O'Rourke's trying to appeal to a younger crowd and trying to convince them, one, to vote for him, but also to turn out and vote.
What do you think are the biggest issues that could decide the election?
So that's a great question, and I don't think we know right now. I think we know that if Abbott would like the election to be about immigration and about border security, and he would like the blame for immigration issues to be placed squarely on the presidential administration, on Joe Biden. I think if O'Rourke would like the campaign to be primarily about abortion, primarily to be about other social issues, the legalization of marijuana, and would like to the other issues that would appeal to those younger voters that we talk about.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I mean, I think this is a really interesting race. Beto O'Rourke was able to, you know, really make the 2018 race competitive, but in some ways it's easier to run against Ted Cruz than Greg Abbott because you know, Cruz is a little bit more of a lightning rod, and Abbott is a little bit less so, and so you know, it's a little harder to get traction against a Greg Abbott than a Ted Cruz. In addition, 2018 was a year that favored Democrats. This is a year which may favor Republicans because it's a midterm with a Democratic president, but it's also but at best it's a year that's even. So there's no extra sort of push that O'Rourke is getting just from national political forces where people are a little frustrated with the Republican administration like they were in 2018. And so he's kind of running a little bit against the wind. But I do think the race is tight enough and close enough for O'Rourke to win. He has to change the turnout model. He has to really get new voters out to the polls, and especially these young voters that he does very well with.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it so much.
Sure, good to talk to you.